Jesus had and continues to carry our cross, so that we can claim in the great words of Paul found in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 55. These are words that are just carried and resound and something we should take with us. And that is, where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? Jesus had said to us, surely when he was walking on this world, that we would not die. And in a way, he's very correct. Well, he's always correct. We come to know that. We can challenge him on things as I did not that long ago. But while we may enter a temporary time of rest from our existence in this world, it is the greatest sacrifice of Christ himself, who truly drank from the cup of death. He took on the consequence of sin on our behalf. Here is the great victory. Jesus is our life vest. Amen. And that's what you get out of the story of Job. Jesus is the life vest. It's not that Job was restored in chapter 42. It has nothing to do with it at this point. This is about a victory that we see. Jesus is our life vest, the only one who affords us peace in times of distress. Have you allowed Christ Jesus to dwell inside you? Have you ever given that a chance? Have you chosen to wear the life vest he has given you? The choice is yours to put it on. The time to fire up your rescue flares right now. The choice is yours to shine your light and share that knowledge of God's justice and goodness to others. You do have a responsibility. I've been so woeful and inadequate at doing that. We all have this choice. It's God's freedom. It's the choice he gives us. I mentioned to you earlier, Job had absolutely no knowledge of the book of Job. He didn't know there was any type of storyline. He didn't have a thought in his brain that said, hey, you know what? I'm going to just persevere and hang in here because, I don't know, 3,000 years from now or so, so people want to be reading about me. It's pretty cool. But let me ask you something. I want you to think about this possibility. Please, bear with me. Think about this. Perhaps there's a future book to be written, or being written right now, inspired by God, that what? That has your name on it.
Amen.
That has your name on it. Okay? Think about this. You're going, oh, come on. There's a book that could have your name written right on it for future generations to read. And you don't even know it right now. When in the future we peruse the books of God's magnificent library in heaven, who knows? Perhaps there'll be a book of Ed. You know, as an assistant of Cool Jake's production, he did quite well. You know, maybe there'll be a book of, a book of Kenny. Maybe there'll be a book of Jack. I like that sound of that. Book of Jack. It rings a skullduggery. There could be the book of Brandon. There could be the book of Michelle. There could be the book of Chris Gilbert. There could be the book of Tori. There could be the book of Pastor Brian. There could be the book of me.
Yeah.
You know? Who knows? Is that impossible? It surely is not impossible.
Amen.
Job didn't know there was a book going to be written about. So personally, I'm somewhat shy and pretty selfish with my time. After all, I'm just one of the musicians up there. You know that guy, Bueller, pizza? That's me. But somehow, I don't imagine that that's good enough for God. You know, we all come here, some of us come here to worship and celebrate. Some of us come here to perform services we're not even aware of with the kids back there, and food services that we kind of tend to take for granted. But everyone pitches in somehow. And I kind of thought about this and thought, you know what? I pitch in my 2 cents here. I play music. But you know what? I don't think that's still good enough for God. I must be more than that. I must shed my own self-directed perspective and take on God's perspective, for His ways are higher than mine. So with that, I'm going to ask folks to come back up, because we're going to close with a very cool song. I'm going to leave my guitar. How many of you all know a guy named Bill Mitchell? You ever heard of a guy named Bill Mitchell? He doesn't have a book yet. And I emphasize yet. Thanks for asking. That was a good question. Bill Mitchell is a very dear friend of mine who I asked to be here today to unroll this song. And he was like, just 2 days early, his planned vacation was going to be out of town. That's pretty good. I'll just hang out. Short leash. Make it work. Okay, so anyway, Phil, I need a microphone too. Thanks, Tori, if you don't mind sharing. What else do I have? Am I up?
Not plugged in though.
I was in tune mode, sorry folks. Okay, anyway, if Phil were here, he'd be doing this with me. What happened was, I came up with this version of This Little Light of Mine. How many of you have heard of This Little Light of Mine? Countless people have done the cradle roll thing, you're sitting back there watching your toddler barely make it up. There you go. So you've been there, you got the shirt, you know the song. But you may not know this version of it. And so what happened is, this Little Light of Mine, the version I wrote, and I wrote it about a couple years before Bill Mitchell, who works for the Guard, went over to Iraq. He in turn shared this song with the folks that he served with in Iraq. Now talk about perspective. This is the guy, these are people who were subject to the line of fire, roadside bombs, you name it. This was their job, this was their perspective. And he took this song and he taught it to his fellow people he worked with. And it was just an amazing thing. He actually sent me a video that showed these soldiers and, up there singing this song, This Little Light of Mine, this arrangement. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is cool. I mean, this is really cool. And it's sad in a way too. One of the people that was up there leading in the song service was a girl, she was locally from here, who got, their patrol got hit with a roadside bomb. And she lost her life like 2 weeks after filming that. I thought to myself, man, at least they got to sing that. At least she got to hear and experience this really cool rendition of this. And I want to share with you this morning. Yeah. Woo!